And someone commented something like, you know, I like how like I'm just having an open relationship so he can continue doing what he's doing. And I'm like, girl, I want to do what I want to do. And like, if he, whatever, I'm like, no, this is about me. Hello and welcome to another episode of Goddess Hangs.
Episode number 60.
Woo! I was going to say we made it to another decade, but I meant another, multiple of 10.
Another milestone.
We are here and ready to kick off the month of love. We're going to chat and tell all about our relationships. Lots of juicy fun to chat about. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Sadie.
I'm Juliet.
Obviously. And we created Goddess Hangs podcast to make the world of mindset, manifestation, and magic more relatable and fun.
We also like saying things in unison.
I was like, unity.
That was a big word.
Nailing it. I'm a little out of it today because I had to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to take Craig to the airport. And you know when you like get up even though you get to go back to sleep, you just feel weird after that.
You're talking to the wrong person.
It's like I've never done that in my life. I sleep as long as I want to sleep every night of my life.
If I get up early, I just go right back to sleep. But it is weird. It is weird when you like go in your car and do something and then come back.
Yeah, it's like discombobulating. Big word.
Sadie's been doing like some country line dancing in the living room. The neighbors have been seeing it.
We made eye contact and he laughed at me. So yeah, we're definitely the weird neighbors. I was telling Juliet because our door's always open and it's like our door and then two huge gigantic windows. And I always have the door open. And, Craig and I are both pretty weird and always dancing around and goofing around, and we get caught by the neighbors a lot and they have a good laugh with us. We're like, sorry.
You're bringing joy to the neighborhood.
I think so.
That's what I think is
between us
here.
And the cats, fan faves.
Fan faves.
So before we dive into this week's topic, what's new with you, Juliet?
Ooh, well, I just got back from San Diego.
Yes.
And I got to have a very special moment with some very special friends.
Ooh.
The sea lions.
The sea lions.
They are like, okay, top 2 favorite ocean animals, dolphins and sea lions. They just want to cuddle and swim and then cuddle some more. And
they're just like so squishy and cute looking.
I know. I feel like I relate to them.
I just want to like poke them in a nice way, not in an annoying way. Like they just look so squish.
No. So I had this really, very Juliet-esque moment where I sat down and I closed my eyes, I breathed in, and I imagined sending each of them, because there was this cuddle puddle in front of me, love and just acknowledgement. And then this one kind of lifted his head and looked at me, or they were probably all females actually. She lifted her head, she looked at me, and I felt in my heart that she said, "We wish you luck on your journey."
Chills. Let's insert a photo here of you at the sea lions.
Here's a photo.
Oh,
there they are. Of course, I respect them. I don't touch them.
I'm like, I want to poke one. I never would, but they look squishy and cute.
Oh, it was just a beautiful moment. And then of course we went to see Victor's brother in his band. We saw them perform, and we stayed at the oldest hotel in San Diego. We stayed at the U.S. Grant Hotel, which the whole lobby was a historical tour pretty much. The hotel offered history tours, and I was like, Victor, we have to go on the tour. And he's like, do we?
I'm a tour gal. We would travel well together.
Oh my gosh. So I took myself on a tour.
I read every plaque.
Me too.
Like I love diving in and take pictures of them, even though I never look back on the plaques after the time.
So it was 14 presidents have stayed at this hotel. Wow. And Albert Einstein stayed at this hotel. It was great. So it was like this beautiful overnight experience, staying at this wonderful place. And then we got to walk around, and the show that his brother was playing was in the gas lamp district?
I'm not super familiar with San Diego. I've been there like just a handful of times, but not really. Sorry, I was just adjusting it.
She can't
like,
touch
don't
it.
touch the mic.
Because everybody hears.
I'm sorry. I felt like it was too close to my face.
No, you're fine.
I've only been there a handful of times and mostly just like in and out because it's like for Craig's show and we dip right away. So
it's a wild street. I'll tell you what. I walked through. I thought I was like, it was just so much going on. You would have thought it was like New Year's Eve.
Yeah. I had that experience this weekend too.
So tell me, that was I talked to some sea lions and I heard a band. Tell me about your New Orleans trip.
New Orleans. Oh my gosh, it was so magical. I did almost everything I set out to do. The only thing that I missed that I didn't do was a tour of a cemetery. Because that's like a must do in New Orleans. It's a swamp, so all of the tombs are above ground. Otherwise, whenever it floods, they would get lifted out of the ground. I guess that's why. If I'm missing some other part of that, but I'm pretty sure. But we didn't get to go to the cemetery, but we did do another tour. But it was so fun. We went for my friend Haley's golden 30th birthday. She turned 30 on the 30th. And so the first night we got there, Friday, we went to Bourbon Street, which is the street I'm like, oh, that's the street I went to. That was like that. So Bourbon Street is insane. I only needed to spend one night there. I got very, very drunk. It's just a wild and crazy street. Just bar, club. Like in New Orleans, you can have open containers on the street. So like you can order a drink at one bar, leave with the drink, and then like walk into a different bar with your drink and keep drinking it. It was crazy. It was so bizarre. It was so fun, but I only needed one night of that. And then we did a Bad Bitches of New Orleans ghost tour. That was super interesting. It was a walking tour like outside at night. So we walked to all of these different places in the French Quarter, which is like they're sort of like touristy neighborhood, tons of shops and must do things there. And we saw like we were like on a certain street, we saw this convent, we saw these historical homes, an inn, and there was always stories about like some of the women were like evil and some of the women were like badass and awesome and cool. So there was like a mix, but the stories were so interesting. And New Orleans was just, I mean, it still is a wild you kind of feel like when you're there like, oh, there's no rules here. It's kind of how it feels. And it's always been that way. Like there's always just been a lot happening there, but it was so interesting. And the most exciting person that I had heard of before but didn't know a lot about, but I learned and saw the home of Marie Laveau, who is the voodoo high priestess. She was described as sort of like the Pope sort of level of voodoo. So people looked up to her, and it was so cool. So her original house is no longer standing, but the house that's built in the spot where she lived has like the original foundation, and it's said to be haunted by her ghost. And when we were there, my ears were like ringing off the hook. It was so interesting, and I just feel so called to like learn everything about her, because I don't know, she just seems like so powerful and so cool. And she came and had so much power in New Orleans in like a time where women didn't have power, and especially Black women didn't have power, and she made her own way and like became this like just incredible figure in history. So I'm so excited to learn more about her. And then we went to the Marie Laveau voodoo shop, which was so fun. I got a spell candle for us to use.
I'm excited.
And a book about Marie Laveau and a postcard, and it was so fun. We spent lots of time in the French Quarter. We went to Café du Monde, which is like the must go for coffee, and I still don't know how to say it, beignets. Beignets, yes. I'm like, I still don't understand. We kept joking and calling them bidets because we couldn't figure out how to say it. Delicious. We did lots of shopping in the French Quarter. There's a really cool like market. I got this beautiful, huge jade mortar and pestle. And then we went to this other street called Frenchman Street, and it's like 2 blocks of just live jazz clubs. So like
Ooh.
7, 8, 9 people on the stage, saxophone, trombone, trumpet, keyboard, you know, good bass guitar, whatever, everything. Just crazy. And you just walk in and out of every club, and every club has a band there that is just absolutely incredible. And we discovered that on the last night there. We're like, man, if we would have known about this street, we would have been here every night. Like, it was so fun. And we kept joking. We're like, we're high on jazz, because we were so jazzed, quite literally. We loved it so much. Like, it was our last night there, and we're like, oh, we'll go home early. We just want to check this out. And we stayed there for hours because it was just the energy. It was so fun. So yeah, I went on a haunted tour. I went shopping, saw the French Quarter, ate so much good food. Oh my gosh. Jambalaya. Wow. I did almost everything I wanted to do except the cemetery tour, but it's somewhere I would definitely go back to. Such a culture of magic, and you know, we love haunted things, and yeah, I would definitely go back.
Oh my gosh, I want to go with you.
Yeah, we would have a blast there.
Feels like a good Goddess Hanks field trip.
I went to a vampire shop.
Oh,
it was so cool. I got a little pendulum disc there, and yeah, it was so fun. It was so magical. I definitely want to go back.
Did you go to the tomb, or I don't know if that's the right word, the place where Marie Laveau's body is said to be, like, allegedly?
Yeah, so she's in, I think it's called St. John's 1 Cemetery, and you can't just publicly walk through them anymore. You have to get in a tour, so I did not take the tour. But you know, because you said you did a report on Marie Laveau,
and I'm trying to remember things, and I remember the big white, I don't know the word for it, box, that's not the right word.
Yeah.
And there were like tally marks all over it. What do you remember anything about, like, what's with the tally marks?
So I don't remember. So the tour guide didn't tell us anything about tally marks on our tomb, but she explained how one thing about the very magical voodoo high priestess Marie Laveau was that she was said to be immortal, because after she passed, that she was still seen walking the streets and helping people.
Oh.
But her daughter was also named Marie Laveau.
Oh, yes.
It was a spitting image of her. So when people would walk up to her and say, "Are you Marie Laveau?" they of course meant the mom, but she would say yes and continue on her mom's work, and never made the distinction like, I'm the daughter.
Oh, this is ringing some bells. I had to do I don't know what class this was for. It was something at UCLA, and I was supposed to do like a 20-page paper, and I was in this major called World Arts and Cultures, where we could kind of tailor it to like other things. You'll see when I say this. So I said, would it be okay if I wrote a song about her instead, and like just did like a little 5-page write-up, like explaining the song? And my professor said, yeah, you can do that. And when my friends caught wind of it, they're like, what? And I would do that all the time. I'd be like, what if I like made this art instead? And like, what if I did this instead? That. And they were like, sure. It was fun. But I'll have to look up. I just remember there was something about, like, I don't know if it was like the number 5 or that there was.
I wonder if it's like people having seen
threes.
her after she passed or something.
I feel like people would do the number like 3 tally. I don't know. We'll look it up.
I'll have to look it up. But yeah, it's said that she walked the streets of New Orleans for 150 years. That's like the legend of Marie Laveau.
I love her.
Yeah. So I bought a book and I want to learn all about her. And I really, really want to see if there's like a voodoo shop here in LA and go visit it. It's just so interesting. And what I found so interesting about New Orleans voodoo is that, so voodoo is a West African religion and practice, and New Orleans voodoo specifically is mixed with Catholicism, and you would never think that like Catholic and something with like magic, you know, something witchy would be like this combined practice. But one of the facts that I thought was so interesting was that one of Marie Laveau's like said to be like her best friend, and they worked closely together, was you know, she's the high priestess of voodoo, and then she worked closely with the sort of like head priest, Catholic priest of New Orleans, and they were best friends. So what an interesting, you know, combination to bring forward. And I already like peeked through my book about Marie Laveau, and there's some like prayers in there, and they sound very Catholic, like the way we pray, you know, because I grew up Catholic. Oh, here's Boo coming to join. Hi, you coming up here?
Pick a lady.
There you go. But yeah, they definitely like the way prayers are written in that book that I've kind of peeked at, that I bought, you know, sound very, very Catholic inspired, if that makes sense. You know, the way that like some of our prayers that we say in church are. So I'm interested just to learn more, like, you know, I'm not gonna be like a voodoo priestess now. I don't think that's
No, I mean,
but I want to learn more about it because it's so interesting, and it was so inspiring to just learn about a new branch of magic that I'm not familiar with, but of course so many similarities, you know, from things I have learned about. So it was so cool, and I just feel really inspired to like learn more.
I love that. I feel like I was reading, and I could be confusing it with hoodoo, which is the Haitian practice. One of them is closed, or certain parts of them are closed. So I think we would have to find one that is...
The distinctions. Yeah. But, the other thing I did is I got a reading. So it's really fun in all the park areas. There's just tables of people that are tarot readers, psychic readers, and voodoo priests and priestesses that you can just walk up to. You know, they're just casual, got their table in the park.
I love that.
So I went and got a reading from someone, which was okay.
You know, was it a little bit like that reading we got that one time?
You know what? I will say it was all very positive, uplifting. Okay. It was not like that, but just not correct.
You know, I imagine it's like if you're a hairdresser and you're really picky about which hairdresser you go to because you know the art to it. Can you get comfy, please? Thank you.
Like, she was so sweet and did pick up on a few things, but like asked a lot of questions, or like, what are your questions? And the way you and I do readings, right? We're like, don't tell me too much. Don't ask me too much. Give me a general idea. But, you know, she was like, is there anyone you want to connect to in spirit? And I was like, shouldn't you be telling me who I'm connecting to? So I said, you know, sure, my mom. And so she was like, is there anything you want to say to your mom right now? And I'm like, I talk to her all the time. I'm good. Like, but she did pick up on, she was like, I feel like your mom has a really like goofy sense of humor. She definitely picked up on things about my mom that were her personality, but then she said some things where I was like, okay, don't know what that means. And then she was like, okay, write down like 3 to 5 questions. And I was like, I kind of just wanted a reading. I didn't really come, but I was like, okay. So I was like, what's next, and like, or like, what's the energy around my business? What do I need to know with my business? And she was like, I'm seeing like the packaging, like we need to level up the packaging and da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't sell physical goods, so that's not correct. I was like, wow. I didn't tell her that.
I'm trying to think.
I was like, we sell the deck, but she was like, I'm seeing like the envelope and the this and here and whatever. And I was trying to connect it to selling the decks, but I was like, it's not that important.
We have some high level packaging.
Yeah. I was like, that just can't, you know, I don't know, whatever. And then I asked, what I thought was interesting was, I did ask about, I was like, the energy around my podcast I have with Juliet. And she said, she said, she was like, well, I'm getting that it's going to be international and it's going to be translated into multiple languages. And I was like, not a lot else was correct, but I'm going to grasp that one and say, sure, let's make that happen.
Sure thing. I like her.
But then she like led me through a nice meditation, and so it was still a nice experience. And it, you know, it was a low cost reading, but sometimes, you know, I think we both can sort of experience imposter syndrome in what we do, and then to go to someone else and you're like, oh no, I'm good.
Yes, I received the voice memo from you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So I just had a reading, and we're actually quite good at reading.
Yeah, because sometimes you just are like, who am I to think that I do that? But but it was fun. I kind of wish I would have went to like a tarot reader instead, but I kind of just wanted to see what came up of
But it was
nothing.
so meant to be that you went to this one, because
Yeah.
it gave you some confidence.
Yeah, some validation. And then what was really cool, my friend Haley went to a different person in that same park area that was a voodoo priest. And instead of a reading, he said, what's your problem? What do you want to fix in your life? What do you want to change in your life? And he gave her the spell to work.
Oh.
I was like, man, I should have done that instead. It sounded so cool. So I'm not going to share the personal details, but so she bought like what she needed from him, but it ended up being only a little bit more than like what I paid for the reading. So it was it was just cool. She did it on her own. We didn't listen in, but she was telling us, and she came back to us with like this like big candle and this like bag of what appeared to be ash and like one other thing, and he was like, you know, set this up in this way, facing the mirror, say this, do this for 7 days. Like, it was very specific. So basically she like bought a spell from the voodoo priest. So
I love that.
I'm excited to. Then she was like, I don't know if I'm ready to work this spell, I'm nervous, but I'm excited to hear how that goes when she decides she's ready to work the spell. And it was just, I love visiting a city that is so happy to be that city. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like New Orleans, like everything has their little what's that thing, like the floor, the 3 design thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think it's called a floor.
I don't know.
Fleur. I don't know. They're like little design on everything. Everything's in like green, purple, and yellow. Everything's got its decorations. Like New Orleans is just so in love with being New Orleans. You know, it's a touristy location, of course, but it's just so fun. And so many of the houses are painted like bright, wild colors, and there's so much history there, so many old buildings, so many ghosts. It was just magical.
I'm so happy you got to go do that.
Yeah, it was really cool. Oh, Boo is relaxed.
I know, she's finally settled. Took her a second, but we got there. We got her there.
Oh, sweet girl.
Okay, little lady.
Boo, are you ready to talk about relationships?
Oh my goodness. This is going to be a very personal episode.
Yeah, are you ready?
No.
Should we pull a card first?
Yes.
Okay, we'll transition. Intuitive Magic Oracle Deck. The name speaks for itself.
I was going to say, it's the deck.
The deck you've all been waiting for.
The top choice of all your favorite people. Intuitive Magic Oracle Deck.
We have been selling a lot of these.
I know. It's really exciting.
Craig is just the sweetest, most organized man, and so I just keep a couple in the house with like my little packaging thing. He made me this bucket that everything is housed in, so I pull it out when it's time to pack some up, and then the majority of the decks stay in the garage in like a box. And I was like, is there a lot left? And he was like, yeah, there's a lot left, but I went out there and looked, and there's just like one bin of them left. Like, it's not that many. We don't need to reorder quite yet, but pretty soon.
Okay.
We're getting there, man. It's pretty crazy. So
this is our beautiful deck that we created all by ourselves.
Yes.
We put so much love and intention into every single card.
So I want to set the intention that this is sort of a guidance for us all to tune into when it comes to our self-love journey, and maybe also energy to take a look at with our partners.
Ooh.
I'm going to take a couple. Ooh, okay. So when I said partners, clarity came up. The answers you seek are already within you. Allow your intuition to take the wheel. So what this means to me is, one, if you are in a partnership, in a romantic partnership, that it's really important to be clear about what you want, your expectations with your partner. Believe it or not, no matter how well your partner knows you, they cannot read your mind.
What?
And it's a lot easier for everyone if you speak up and are clear. And if you're not in a partnership, or maybe even if you are and you're like, well, I don't know. I know that I'm looking for something, but I don't know what that is. It's time to get really clear with yourself. Mm-hmm. The answers you seek, your desires, they're already in you. It's not something that has to be dropped down from above or an answer that's going to come at you from the outside world. What you desire, what you need, it's all within you. So trusting your intuition and being really clear outwardly about what your needs are, what your desires are. Clarity. Anything you want to add to that?
I love that. I think that's perfect.
And then I love this, and I think this one is connected to self-love. We pulled the Creatrix card. You are a remarkable co-creator with the universe. Magnify your magic, make art.
Ooh, I love that. It's like you get to create, you get to co-create the love, the life, the romantic moments of your dreams. Mm-hmm. You have more power than you think you do.
I love it. And it's such an act of love to allow yourself to create just for the sake of creating. Mm-hmm. I know I've been doing more like painting and crafty stuff, and I just promised myself, I'm like, I don't have to share any of this. So and it's so freeing, like just to create for the sake of creating. It's really just made me feel more like myself.
Good. That's the whole point.
So what do you want to create this month? This keeps falling over. There we go.
There we go. It's the packaging. No, the packaging is perfect.
Intuitive Magic Oracle.
Intuitive Magic Oracle. Order yours today. You're going to love it. You will love how Sadie packages it with her rose petals, her glitter, her little unicorn confettis.
Yes.
She signs it from both of us. It's very special.
The one I packed yesterday got a lot of unicorn confetti because it all fell out, and I said, you know what? This person needed some more unicorn magic in their life, I think.
Oh.
So they got a lot. Shout out.
Shout out to you.
Let's also chat about our Patreon really quickly, because some really incredible changes are coming, and we have a really juicy, fun coven meeting this month.
Okay, let's start with the coven meeting.
Yes. So we have 2 tiers in our Patreon, and the second tier is the Coven, where we host a once a month live meeting on Zoom. It's always the last Wednesday of the month around 5:30 or 6 p.m. PST. And this month we're going to be working a love spell together and learning about sex magic,
which, as we've detailed, Sadie is quite the expert in.
I've been practicing it for I think I started really leaning into practicing sex magic regularly in August, and since August a lot has happened.
I know. I always tell her, I'm like, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Please don't stop.
I'll be like Juliet and I will meet up for a meeting. I'm like, don't worry, I practiced my sex magic this morning, and she's like, all right.
I'm like, good. Here's the spreadsheet. But you know, both jobs are important.
Yep.
I do value that you bring that to the table.
I put in a lot of work on that front. I am putting in the work, you know?
Yes, she is.
But it's sexy, it's fun, and boy, is it effective. It really is.
You heard it here.
And if you want to know more about what I'm talking about, you're going to have to join the coven. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait to chat about it and how it's worked magic in my life, in our lives.
Hers is potent enough for mine too.
And it's going to be super, super fun. It's every month that we meet. It's so fun. And when you join, you actually have access to all the replays of the past months. So you can check out our pendulum workshop we did, which the girls are still talking about how much it blew their mind. So get in on that, and so much more to check out. We also have some big changes coming to the general Goddess BFF Patreon. So as you all know, we've been a group chat on Telegram for about, what is it, like 5 months?
Like under 4 months.
Less than 4 months. We thought we'll do Telegram for about a year. At some point we're going to outgrow it. Well, 4 months or so. We've already outgrown Telegram. It's getting pretty, it's just a lot. And we're listening to feedback from our goddesses that it's a little bit overwhelming to keep up with so many group chats. It's a little more difficult to keep organized as much as we try to. So if you join the Patreon this month, you will still get access to the Telegram, because we know that that experience is unique and it's really fun, and we want to give you the option to see what that's like. However, Juliet, do you want to describe what we're moving to? A bigger, better, juicier platform. I'm so excited.
Okay. This is all I've been thinking about. Basically, we're moving on up. We're graduating from elementary school, and
we got through kindergarten, elementary school.
I pictured it like the Telegram has been like this cute little goddess house, and we're moving up to like the goddess mansion.
Oh, yes.
Okay, the luxury goddess mansion with room to grow and expand and create an even more immersive experience. So basically, there are some new things. Just so you know, maybe you're familiar with this platform, but we are moving over to Discord. Discord is so perfectly organized. It cuts the percentage of you being overwhelmed by at least half.
By 50% or more.
Guaranteed.
Statistics.
I don't know how we can measure that, but we're guaranteeing it. The organization is pristine. Yep. There are sections that you will know where to find them, and there's areas for just hanging out. That's where we're going to have spicy chat, relationship chat, shopping.
Spicy chat is the sexy chat.
Oh yeah, we like spicy chat. We have a place to share your outfit of the day, because that's been very popular. We have photos of your pets, all these things. Then we have a whole section, a whole category that's called Diving Deeper. And that's where we have spells, deity work, shadow work, seeking support. If you're having a hard day, you need, a shoulder to lean on. We also have a grief and loss area. So there's all these areas. And then this is the cherry.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about this.
On the top. So Discord allows you to have live voice or video conversations in real time with other members. So you guys, you girls, you gals, you goddesses can be hanging out in a particular room and say, hey, why don't we go hang out in the citrine room, the amethyst room, we have fun little crystal names for them. And then everybody who wants to goes over there, and that's where a lively live discussion can take place.
You can talk in real time like you're on a group phone call with your best friends.
We also have an area for the book club where they get to meet up in real time. Nobody has to coordinate separate Zoom links anymore. We also have an area where if somebody wants to coordinate, hey, like tonight we're gonna watch this documentary or this spooky movie, somebody can stream it, and as many people as desire can go in and watch in real time
together.
And we can create this like real life. It's like a mansion with all these different rooms.
Yes.
And there's also a new feature that we've added called Sadie and Juliet's Diary. So there's going to be a section that's going to be really clean, where it'll just be posts from Sadie and me, where we're going to share our behind the scenes things, maybe pages out of our journals, anything really personal that we wouldn't put on Instagram and that won't get buried in other chats. So it's going to be the state-of-the-art Goddess Mansion Discord, and I'm so excited to migrate all the girls
up, super organized. When you join Patreon, you don't have to join 15 different group chats, as fun as those group chats are and have been. This time you just join one and you've got all of the links there, or not links, they're just all exist there already. You don't have to join different links. And like we said, the Telegram isn't going anywhere. It's still going to exist. So our current goddesses, don't panic.
We're not deleting anything.
But Juliet and I will, we'll still check in with the Telegram, but we're going to be spending the vast majority of our time in the Discord. We're so excited to meet you there. This is just going to be such a yummy level up. I'm so excited.
I know.
I was gonna say, it's been a long time coming, but it's been like in the past month we were just like, wow, okay, we're growing at such a fast rate that this Telegram isn't really sustainable anymore, as like fun and different and cool as that was. We're so ready to do it this new way, and I feel really good about it,
and to have so much space for so many more goddesses to come in.
This is gonna be, we can have 1,000 of you, we can have 100,000 of you, and it's going to be just so much more sustainable, I think.
And there will be a couple moderators floating around, just keeping an eye on everything.
Moving your mic a lot, it might be causing...
Oh, stop that.
Like mother, like daughter. Grabbing the mic.
So that's the exciting Patreon update.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be a blast. I think if you're already a Patreon member, it'll take all of 5 minutes to transition and acclimate, and then you'll be like, oh, this is actually far easier.
Yeah.
You'll
There's
love
an app
it.
for your phone. You can go on it on your computer, just like Telegram has both. So yeah, it's going to be so great. We're so excited. And shout out to our creative assistant, Annalyn, who from the start suggested Discord, and we said, no, we're going to do Telegram.
And we said, no, we're going to do it this way.
I'm glad we started out with Telegram. You know what? It was so fun, but...
As we go on,
we remember Telegram was fun together.
But now it's
Discord that we hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, join us on Patreon. Join us on Discord. We're so excited. I'm really excited for the live hangout because that just sounds really cool.
And it's so fun because there's an area for like just a general live hangout that you don't have to schedule. You could just pop in and see who's there. There's an area for deep thoughts. If anybody wants to go in and be like, has anybody ever thought about how we're the perfect distance from the sun and how for all of this to even exist, like there's places for that. And it's just such an upgrade and so exciting. And we truly believe in our hearts that you're going to love it, and we're going to be very active on it. And you might be in a call and Sadie and I might pop in and hang out with you like on a live phone call. Yeah. So you never know what could happen.
And we're definitely, I think just in the beginning, especially, Juliet and I will schedule a few like call hangouts just to like get everyone acclimated to the new space and chat. So make sure you join this month, especially if you do want to see what the Telegram is like, because after February, we're going to cut off the Telegram. Again, it's not going away, but no new people will be joining the Telegram section. But if you join in February, you can join both the Telegram and the Discord. So if you want that experience and you want to see what it's like and you've been curious, you must join this month.
This is your last chance. The train is leaving the station.
Yep, to check out the Telegram. But again, it's not going anywhere, but Juliet and I will be spending less and less time in the Telegram and more time in the Discord. So we're very excited for that upgrade. And shout out to all of our amazing BFFs for the support and being with us through these growing pains and figuring it out. And just, we love you all so much.
Yes, we love you very much. And we're going to have so much fun in our new platform.
Yes.
Oh, look at the boo girl.
Boo's getting a little head massage.
Oh, she like that. Look at her little paws.
She's just like comfy.
Oh my gosh. So speaking of February, Valentine's Day is upon us, the month of love. I mean, in our hearts, every month is the month of love. But this is a special, it's in our face a lot this month. And so we thought, we've had our podcast for over a year, and we've never truly done a deep dive into our personal lives as far as relationships are concerned. And so go ahead, Sadie, take it away.
She's like, you start. What do you want to know, Juliet?
Well, I want to know, okay, I want to start with maybe people who don't know, like how you met Craig and what sort of like mindset you were in when you met him and maybe how he was different than other people you have dated.
Yeah. So Craig, my boyfriend, I think most of you know who my boyfriend is, but Craig Conant is a comedian. And when I first moved to LA, I had been living in Santa Barbara for a few years because I have family that lives there, which is just a couple hours from LA. And I decided to move here for the job that I met Juliet at because I wanted to try out the big city. And when I first moved here, I was really excited about being single in a big city because I was living in Santa Barbara and it got to be a small town very fast. And I was like, yes, the world is my oyster. And then I lived here for 3 weeks and then I met Craig and all my dreams of being single in LA were dashed because we immediately fell in love. But some like a piece of advice I like to give people is like, just go do things that you enjoy and that inspire you and make you happy and excited, because like you'll meet someone there that's super aligned with like what you enjoy. And so when I first moved here, I moved in with my friend and she like had like 2 or 3 weeks where she was traveling. So I moved here and then just like didn't have her to hang out with. So I started going to comedy shows by myself because I've always been a fan of stand-up comedy. When my mom passed, like watching stand-up on like Netflix and stuff like really helped me through it. Like to me, like stand-up comedy is so much more than a laugh. Like it really is meaningful. It's really impactful. It really saves lives, I think, just helping someone laugh. So anyway, so I started going to shows by myself, and it was actually on Craig's birthday. I was at a show and it was so cute because at the show, like the other comics surprised him and like lit a candle on stage and like the whole comedy club like sang him happy birthday. Aww. And then after the show, I was out on the sidewalk in front of the Laugh Factory in West Hollywood, and I was like looking on my phone about to call an Uber, and like his friend who I had like DM'd to like get on the guest list, didn't know him, just always would post in his stories like, DM me for free guest list, and he was like standing right next to me, and so we looked at each other and he went, oh hi, Sadie, right? And I was like, oh yeah, because I kept going to this show because it was a free guest list and I wanted to go to comedy. And then he was friends with Craig, and Craig walked up and then we met, and I was like, oh, happy birthday, you know. And he was like, do you want to go get some pizza? And that's how we met on his birthday in front of the comedy club. We went and got pizza, and then he like gave me a ride home and he kissed me, and I remember I was like, what just happened? And I like got into the house like just like giggling and laughing, and at that point my friend was back and I was like, oh my god, I just kissed a boy. And she's like, what do you mean? Who did you kiss? What are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, this. And I was like, but like I'm not gonna date a comic. Like I want to keep being a fan of comedy. I don't want to date a comic, whatever. But he asked me to hang out. We kept hanging out. I remember the first time I went over to his apartment, I walked in and there were crystals everywhere.
Wow.
And I looked at him and I was like, crystals, huh? I was like, do you know that I work at like the most beautiful crystal store in the world? And we were like, no way. And like in that moment I was like, uh-oh, this is something.
Oh.
Like it just felt like so synchronistic. Like I didn't know a lot about crystals before I moved to LA and started working at this crystal shop. I'd only been working there for like 3 weeks. Met this guy. He's got an apartment full of crystals, you know? And yeah, we fell in love really fast. We started spending so much time together. I mean, everything was just always so easy, like laughing and laughing and laughing. And I always loved that, like, he believed in crystals and was into like personal development and spirituality and things like that. And this was at a point where I wasn't deep in it like now, but being in the crystal store, you know, it was like a portal for opening up that kind of stuff. We really, I think, like made each other grow, which I think is really beautiful. Like we were both interested in both these things, but maybe didn't commit ourselves fully to that sort of development yet. And one thing I appreciated about Craig was that as that job sort of went on and it started being really draining and not what I wanted it to be, and really hard, it was a long commute. It was like a lot of after hours getting texts and phone calls, and it was just too much for me. And he always was just like my biggest cheerleader of me finding my own way, of me, you know, he was so patient when I would stress and cry and have anxiety. And then when I wanted to, you know, start a business, he was always like, you're going to be the best at that. You're going to kill it at that. You're going to, of course you can be a witch. You're going to be the most famous witch in the world. Like just always 1,000% in it, but like totally meaning it and not just saying that. Whereas I think with like other partners, they were a lot more like, I don't know, like rational or like sort of like dad energy. Like I just think of my dad of being like, is that the smart decision? Is that, you know, like, is that really what you think is going to work? He's always just been, you know, he's a comedian for a living. So of course he kind of is like, you can do anything to make a living. Some of the heavier part of our relationship that I haven't, so if you listen to his podcast, we talked about it together, but it's been a while now, so I think it's okay. We like to talk about it together because I don't want to come off as like him being a bad guy or something, but we did go through infidelity. That's the word, right? And it was like in the first year of us dating, I didn't know. And back then I was very like, now I'm so much more forward with like what I want and what my boundaries are and things like that. Back then I was a lot more timid and not forward, and like we never said, oh, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. I was just kind of assumed, but then he took that as like I get to keep doing whatever whatever I want when I'm not around. So I found out about the cheating the literal day we signed a lease together, a 1-year lease. And I was like, I had suspicions before that, but was convinced that wasn't true. And then I was praying for, can somebody please come forward that can provide proof of this? Because I felt like I was crazy. When I started doing the psychic mentorship with Megan, I started getting meditations, like visions of these things happening, having dreams. And I thought I was going crazy because I was like, why? I'm supposed to be doing some positive thing. Why am I seeing this stuff? But I was psychic. And of course, when you ask somebody, I'm having a vision of this, is there a reason for that? It's very easy for them to say, no. So anyway, so I was asking and praying for, can I get some clarity on this? Why is this happening? But of course, ego arguing myself out of believing in these intuitive nudges. So we signed the lease for a year, and then a girl DMs me and has text messages and things that very much solidify. And so he opened up about it. But to me, a woman who believes in signs from the universe, I was like, well, I've been praying for this for about 3 months. And I received this confirmation that I so badly needed a day after I signed a lease. And I was like, I feel very strongly that if I had found out before, I would be like, no question, leave. But this felt like a very strong sign to me that it was like, this is something that needs to be worked on, and you can leave whenever you want. But I felt very strongly that it was like, this is something that's worth sticking around for and working on. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, it's been over a year since we found that out. We had many very hard months, but I'm really glad that I stayed. I'm so happy I stayed. I'm getting emotional because I'm really happy I stayed. And it was so hard and it was so painful. I understand, like, there's no excuse for what was going on, but I understand Craig and sort of what was not healed in him, and so why he did those things. Mm-hmm. And no excuse for it. But if anyone out there is someone who has stayed with someone who cheated, like, and questions if that is an okay thing to do, like, I feel like it's obviously all individual, but to me it's very possible to get back to a place that feels really good. So that happened. Any questions about that, Juliet?
Well, I just remember being totally oblivious. Mm-hmm. And you really kept it inside.
I was embarrassed to tell anybody. Mm-hmm. I felt embarrassed. Like I did, like it was like, oh, I wasn't good enough. So that happened. Like it was a reflection of me in some way, which is so not true.
Right, which it's absolutely not.
It was 1000% a him thing. Mm-hmm. And not personal to me either. You know, like it wasn't like I wasn't a good enough girlfriend, so he did that, or because that's how I felt for a long time. I was like, I do this and we have a great sex life and we, you know, like all of these things were so good. Like what was missing? And he was like, it wasn't about something missing, you know. For him, as someone who had issues with addiction, it was like chasing a high, like mm-hmm. the high that gave him, and having to unlearn that new form of addiction in a way. Oh, hi, Mr. Cat.
That was the cutest sound he's ever made.
Little squeak. Don't you scratch this chair. So yeah, he saw someone, we worked on it together a lot, but honestly a lot of the work was us separately working on things. Mm-hmm. And that's what made the biggest difference. And then coming together, healing ourselves, allowing us to be able to come together and have conversations and go through that healing without like the sort of like, for me, like defensiveness and like the taking it personally side of it. Mm-hmm. And coming from a place of understanding of each other, like him having to understand how angry I was for a long time and being okay with that and like managing that, but then me knowing I can't be angry forever and I can't hold it over his head forever. Like if we're gonna stay together, it has to be something that can't be brought up in every single fight of like, well, I'm right because you did that once, or well, not more than once. But you know what I mean? Like you have to really, and whether it's this kind of problem or another way you've been hurt in a relationship, if you want to stay with that person, it's like, you know, it took us many months to process it, but then at a certain point it has to be done. You know, mm-hmm. like we're not going to stay together for 50 years if every time I get upset I revert back to saying something about that. So I feel like completely forgiving of it now, and I have for a little while now, and that feels really good.
Good.
And truthfully, it was more work on my own that got me there than us together, which is interesting. But there was definitely dual healing as well, and I'm very proud of the way he stepped up, and just to have someone that's like willing to put in the work and grow and look inward and do that shadow work and work on that healing, rather than just say like, oh, I messed up, I guess this is done, you know? So I'm very proud of Craig because he's grown so much, and I'm very grateful to have a partner that is just as invested in like self-work and personal development and spirituality. And yeah, now everything is so great, better than before, because we're so brutally honest with each other. And yeah, so this also probably sounds weird as someone that went through that, but we now have an open relationship. And I know what you're thinking, Sadie.
You know, it's so easy to like try to zoom way out and come up with the assumption or the judgment that you're probably about to say.
Yeah.
But there's a real beauty in like, as long as you're doing what you truly want to do and you're where you truly want to be, it's nobody's business. You know, it's like, it's fine. That's something that's been really sort of powerful. Like I've watched you become extremely empowered in this situation and feel so free and happy in it. In a way that maybe that's what it should have been from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was not a solution to the other problem. But I did realize that a lot of my resentment that stuck around that situation, because I knew that his actions were not personal to me after a certain point. Like at first it did feel very personal, but then I still had resentment sticking around, and I was like, you know what my resentment is about is that I moved to LA and I didn't want a boyfriend. Like I wanted to be flirty and date and have fun, but then we fell in love. And unbeknownst to me, he was still having his fun, flirty time. And I was resentful of that time, that I could have had that too, because I've always wanted an open relationship. It's always been something with every partner I've had that I have felt very strongly pulled towards and never had the courage to voice, because it sounds like such an absurd, out there, weird thing, I feel like. And it's not, because I'll tell you, once I became public about this, I've, posted it on my Instagram stories. We did a podcast episode on his podcast, Community Service Pod. So many women have reached out to me saying either they have the courage to talk to their partner about it now, or they're already in an open relationship. These are married women that are dating, women with children, and they're so empowered, and them and their partner, you have to create a really safe, secure space within your relationship, of course. And Craig and I put in a lot of work to create that after what we went through. But it started out as like, I think one of us made a joke about it. I think he joked about it, and I kind of looked at him. I was like, I mean, I'd be kind of down. And he was like, really? And I was like, could you actually handle that? And he's like, yeah. And so it's been quite a few months now, and it's great. I feel, actually, it's interesting because people are like, don't you feel anxiety like when he goes off on the road? Because our rule is, when we're like not in the same city, not together. And I'm like, actually, I felt more anxiety when we were monogamous and he was gone, because it would be breaking the rule, right? But now that it's like not against the rules, I do not think about it.
That's amazing.
It's so weird. I know it's weird. But to me, I feel like we love each other so much that it feels safe for us to go have our fun. And then I feel so confident that there's no one out there better for him than me, and vice versa. I'm not better than everyone, but for him, he's not going to find someone that he's like, oh, like I want to be with this person instead of Sadie. I'm moving out. We feel so secure in how much we love each other, how much our lives are so aligned, like the way we want to raise kids, the way we want to have a household, the way we just want to live. Like it's so aligned. It's so perfect that it's like, and it's so freeing to like be able to just know that like, yeah, if I want to go off on my girls weekend and flirt and make out with a guy, no big deal. It's not like, it's just fine. It's not, I don't know. It's changed the energy in our relationship. And of course, if you're listening and you're like, this, you know, I'm interested, but I don't know if I could do exactly what you do. There's so many ways to have open relationships. You pick your boundaries, you pick your rules, you make it what it works for you. But it's brought such a new level of playfulness and lightness, because him and I are both very like free spirits. Just both love connecting with people, and we're both flirty, and it's just fine now. And for the first time in my entire life, I'm like, oh, I could marry him, because I've always had such a fear of that. I'm like, I can't be with one person forever and ever and ever. That's just not me. It's not, and it's okay. I always thought there was something wrong with me, or I was like, but I'm like, no, that's just me, and that's okay. It's totally fine. And to now have someone that is in line with that, I'm like, oh yeah, we could have a family. We could be together forever, because we can also see other people if we want. It's like no big deal. It's not hurting each other. So that's what's new with me. What a roller coaster, am I right, guys? And I know a lot of you, I think, have heard bits and pieces of that, because we have been pretty open with that journey. And it's been a lot of hard work. And yeah, there was a lot of pain and resentment and anger and grief between the two of us. That was honestly a roller coaster, where 1 month would be great and 1 month would be bad again. But now we've really turned a corner recently, and everything is just so great.
I'm so happy. I remember there was a moment where the two of you were going to maybe not continue.
We did break up for 1 week, and it was the week that my dad came to visit California, and we didn't want to tell him, you know? So we were just like, yeah, we're good. And then, yeah, we broke up for 1 week, contemplated finding different places, and then we were like, no, we don't want to break up. We're going to figure this out.
I remember in my heart, I was like, I don't think they're going to break up.
When I called you and said we're not breaking up, or texted you, you were like, I figured.
Yeah, it just didn't sit right with me. I was like, oh, they'll figure it out. I don't know. There's just something, it was a really cool moment to be reminded that not everything's black and white.
Yeah.
And that we can always, you know, do what's right for us and what makes us happy.
Yeah.
Even if other people might not like understand it or
there's
support
no
it.
Rules. There's no way you have to react, or no decision you have to make when one thing happens. And yeah, for me, I'm like, you know, doesn't seem like monogamous relationships work for everyone, and they haven't worked for me so far. So let's try something different. And him and I agree. We're like, if one of us says, don't want to do this anymore, it'll be no, you know, oh, come on, why not? You know, it'll just be like, okay, great. And that'll be fine.
Done.
And I feel like there will be moments where we take breaks from being open. I'm like, if I'm pregnant, you're not. I'm like, we're closed again until, you know, I feel like so, you know, we've had conversations of like what that's going to look like in the future and things like that. But
you can set your own business hours.
Yes.
You can set your own hours of operation.
But it's been so great. And if anyone wants to chat about open relationships, like, I really enjoy that. Maybe we'll chat about it more in the Patreon after this.
Oh, yeah.
If anyone has questions for me. But yeah, it's been really empowering. It's been really incredible. I will say, once I sort of claimed my power in this sense in our relationship, that's when I started making a lot of money.
Oh, I remember this.
It was like
it lined up
day and
immediately.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden, everything started flowing in. We've talked about it many times on the podcast that like sex and money are so intertwined, and just feeling that freedom and that power and like just like it made such a big difference in the flow of abundance in my life. So 10 out of 10 would recommend if it's right for you. And both of you, you know, everyone's got to agree. It can't be a one-sided thing where they're like,
right. And don't just agree to it if you don't really want it, and vice versa. Yeah. Sadie really wanted it.
Yes. Very much. I know. I think because Craig talked a little bit about it on Chatty Broads, and of course I'm nosy Nelly and like read some of the comments, and someone commented something like, you know, I like how like I'm just having an open relationship so he can continue doing what he's doing, and I'm like, girl, I want to do what I want to do, and like if he whatever, I'm like, no, this is about me. Like I want to have freedom, like I want to, like, no, that's not what this is about, letting him, and I'm just like staying at home. I mean, I am home most of the time, I love being at home, but I'm like, no, this is, I wanted this, I've always wanted this. I was always just too afraid to admit it because I thought I was just of the vast minority, which is still probably the case, but I couldn't believe how many women reached out to me. And it made me feel really happy that we were like able to be honest. That's like, it's okay to live a little differently, whatever that might mean to you.
Oh my gosh, the truth is unveiled in today's episode.
Ooh, we're gonna be nervous uploading this one.
Yeah, that was a lot. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
The tell-all.
And I just have so much fun with the two of you together.
Yeah.
You're such a great couple. And he loves you so much.
You know, he really does.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, back off a little, buddy. Just kidding. But he does. He likes really being together. Like when he's home, he's like, do you want to drive here with me? And I'm like, maybe you could just drive there and come back. It's like a 10-minute thing. He's like, I really want you to ride with me in the car. Like he always just wants me with them.
That's sweet.
It's very cute, but you know, he's gone a lot, so I get it. So I do go along now. I don't question. I'm just like, of course, sweetie.
Oh,
Of course I'll ride with you to the vet for an hour. Even though I could be doing work. But it's great. But yeah, so enough about me. Juliet, how did you and Victor meet, and what has been your journey?
well, we're out of time. No, I'm kidding.
Like, well, folks, maybe next week.
Victor and I met because his brother and my dear friend at the time were in a band together, and they were also dating. So I went to the Silver Lake Lounge, which I think is closed down now. But I went to the Silver Lake Lounge, and I was there to see my friend, and Victor was there to see his brother. And he came up to me, and he knew of who I was. And I was sitting alone on like a bench. And this was, just to put it into context, I was 25, and I was absolutely distrusting of all men. Like zero, stay away from me, don't talk to me. Like I had sworn off dating because I had at that point, I mean, I started dating when I was 13, so I had 12 years of, I would say 85% really bad experiences, okay? There were a couple sweet guys peppered in there, you know, not to overlook them, but it was the trauma that I held on to. So Victor comes up to me, I've never met this guy, and he goes, hey, I'm Victor. I'm Anthony's brother. Do you want to come to the front and stand with me to watch the show?
That's such a Victor move.
I know, and he had his camera.
Just the most. If you spend time with Victor, he will make you feel the most welcomed, a part of the gang. Like, just
he's the host with the most.
He's like, someone's over there by themselves, I better get them out here.
And I mean, to the point where sometimes I'm like, we don't have to talk to every person we come across. Like, we can just buy something at the market and leave. Like, we don't have to make a friend everywhere. But he really
you have to make a friend everywhere.
Well, now with the pandemic, I'm like, honey, I don't think she wants to talk. Like, back up. It's a very sweet quality. So in my Juliet 25-year-old fashion, I said, I'm good. I said, yeah, I'll make my way up there. Like, who are you? Go away. And so,
what was your first like thought or impression where you were like, when you walked away after you sent him away, were you like, that guy was cute, or were you kind of just like indifferent?
I didn't care at all. I thought that guy is probably too friendly, or I don't remember, but I just was like, who are you? No, I'm not going to go stand next to you. So I was a tough nut to crack. I'll tell you what. And I will tell you what. Okay. So, then I go up, I stand next to him. We don't really talk. We just both enjoy the show. And then I leave. Then another time, my friend brought me to karaoke. There's this place called Los Amigos that has Mexican food and karaoke, and it's a lot of fun. It's in Burbank. And so we went, and that was a night that Victor was there. And
How much later was this?
This was maybe like
weeks, months?
2 or 3 weeks later. Okay. Maybe 4 weeks. And I show up, and again, could care less. And Victor has memories of us like arm in arm, like singing together, and like he knew I was something special. And I'm like, I don't remember a thing about that. Not even a little. I remember seeing him there and like going up and performing whatever I sang, and then telling my friend, I was like, okay, we're leaving. And this was when I did my Irish goodbyes.
Oh, yep.
So I would just leave. And I guess Victor was like, where the hell did she go? I had just left.
Probably wanted to like ask you out that night.
Perhaps. So then I guess the weeks following that, anytime my friend was over at their house, he kept saying like, oh, so how's Juliet? Like, what's up with Juliet? And I just would hear about that. And I thought that was so funny because also at the time he had just turned 21.
Right. So you were kind of like, oh, this young buck.
Like, this is not going to happen at all. But it's cute that he's interested in me, whatever. So I still, if we bring him on and we say, tell us about that night at Los Amigos.
Well, we will be bringing him on and we will be hearing his side of the story. So I can't wait for us both to ask each other's boyfriends, tell us about the first time you met Juliet. Tell us about the first time you met Sadie.
Yeah. He'll be like, she was very standoffish. And if any of you meet me somewhere and come up and say hi, I am really friendly.
I get shy. I'm nervous.
I was I'm 25 years old. I'm working as a preschool teacher. I don't like it. I'm a nanny and I'm a personal assistant. So I'm pushing my music career and I don't trust men. So it just like wasn't.
You're tired. You're not interested.
This show was on like a Tuesday night. I'm like, okay, I'll go. Like it was. Okay. So we had that encounter that he remembers so fondly that I remember getting a margarita and leaving. That's what I remember.
Victor's like, the night that changed my life and I fell in love with Juliet. And Juliet's like, the margarita was pretty good.
Yeah. So then, another few weeks go by and my friend and I are hanging out together and she gets a text that the boyfriend and the brother, Anthony and Victor, are at Dave & Buster's in Hollywood, and it was St. Patrick's Day, and it was after midnight when we got this text, and I was like getting ready to just like leave and go home, and I don't know if the heavens above must have said something to me, but they said you should go, and again, for me to go somewhere after midnight was beyond out of character at the time. Yeah. But I was like, let's just go. And I was joking around. I was like, the younger brother likes me. We'll make his night if I show up. I was just being like silly. So we show up and I don't remember Victor being hammered, but he remembers being extremely inebriated. And but the smile on his face when I showed up, like, oh, like I was there, and I don't know how much money he put on that Dave & Buster's card, but we played games for hours and he won me this big unicorn. And at the end of the night, I walked up to Anthony and I said, you know what, your brother, I'd go on a date with your brother if he wants to. And he was like, are you serious? He's going to flip out. Are you serious? Are you serious? I was like, yeah,
Victor's
it's fine.
Already in love at this point.
And so, the next day they were having like a barbecue at a park or something. And so I went and he was showing off big time. He was doing backflips and side flips. And,
also very Victor energy.
Look at this thing I can do. And that day he walked me to my car and he's like, I'd love to get your number. And so he got my number. And then just, fast forward, we sort of start dating. And I remember our first date. And I remember, again, I had extremely, I I found like a journal entry or something where I was like, this will be fun for a minute. Like, I truly didn't think that this was like my husband.
Fast forward 5 years.
And he will be my husband. but he picks me up and we go to the beach and we're just taking pictures and hanging out and having a great time. And then at one point we start cuddling and we were listening to Die a Happy Man by Thomas Rhett. I don't know if you've heard that song. It's the sweetest song.
I think so.
On our first date. And I had this moment of, whoa, is this the guy? Like, it was this very weird. It was very weird because I was always the girl who was like, he makes me feel like poetry. Like, everything had to be,
like, write a song, and
everyone had to be my muse, and they had to be like just enough out of reach so that I would like pine for them and write all these songs about them. And this man showed up with like the biggest heart and just the sweetest, best intentions. So then I realized, oh, I'm gonna like be very into this guy. So now I have to, you know, be really clear, which I don't know if I recommend doing this or not, but on our second date, we went to get ice cream and I said, so I just want to be really clear. I'm looking to like get married and have children, which is funny because right now I'm like, oh, that can wait a long time. I was like, I'm looking to get married and have children, and you just turned 21. And I you know, why don't we not lock you down? Like, why don't you know, I just want to be really clear.
You were, what's that movie where he's like, you're white fanging him, you're like, go on, be free.
I was like, honestly, like, you know, I really just want to be like focused on me and my goals and all these things. And I would bring that point up a number of times over the first year, probably way more than I needed to. And one time he's like, yeah, have you met you? Like, why would I want to be with somebody else? And I was like, aww. So
was there like, did you struggle at all with like, I mean, obviously you were straightforward about that. You were like, oh, we're in different places. But like, what was it like dating someone, that you're 4 years apart?
Yeah, we're like 4.5.
I know now it's like whatever, but at first was it like hard, or did you like, I know obviously you sort of had doubts about like, oh, he's not going to be ready when I am.
Yeah, but it was weird. It was never weird for him because I guess every woman in his family is older than the man. So it was
well, he was like, oh my God, I've got this hot lady older than me.
I remember being like, does he know how old I am? And then like come to find out that was like the biggest turn on, that I was older.
Yeah.
So it works out fine. And I just don't care either way. What I will say is I had always dated guys way older than me, like 16 years, 9 years. And they always were like, oh, when I was your age. And I was so sick of hearing that.
Craig and I are like 7.5 or... Yeah, we're like 7.5 years apart. He's turning 38 this year. But you would never know because he's such a kid. And then sometimes we'll be like, he'll say something and I'm like, oh, your age just showed. But it's nice. And then what's interesting is that Craig and Victor are even farther apart in age. They're almost like 10 years apart. Or
no,
more?
They're more.
More than 10 years apart,
They're like
right?
11 or 12 years apart.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah, but they get along great.
Craig's such a, you know, that's what I love about him. He's such a kid, you know?
So I remember my grandpa, who had zero involvement in my personal life, called me one day and was like, Juliet, you need to do the right thing. You got to cut him loose.
Oh!
As if he was, you know, I don't know. So that was strange. Yeah, it bugged me for a little bit. Because 21 sounded like so young at the time.
Meeting at that age, yeah. Because it is a big difference. Like 21, 22 is such a different energy than when you hit like 25 to 30.
Yeah. So it was a little strange for me. But the problem was I played hard to get for way too long. So we had been like in a relationship for 6 months and I still wouldn't text him first. Isn't that insane? I would not text him first, and he would test it. He'd be like, okay, I'm testing it. It's 11 a.m. It's noon. It's 1 p.m. 2 p.m. He'd be like, hey, Julia, like, how are you? And I'd be like, I'm great. How are you? Like, immediately. And so my biggest issue, and it's funny because we've been together for almost 5 years, which is wild. this past year has been the most fun, the happiest, the best. We moved in together. It was like, every day feels like a holiday. Like, I mean, sometimes we bug each other, but for the most part, we're very, very happy. But the first couple years of dating me was, I don't know how he got through it, because I truly like, and there were many times when I said,
you were still healing.
We should just break up. And he'd be like, no, stop saying that.
Aww.
I was absolutely healing from stuff. I did not trust him. I was thinking in the car ride over here that one time I saw a black hair tie on his floor, which probably was mine.
Yeah.
Or his brother's, who has very long hair. And I just had a meltdown thinking somebody else had been there, and I just flipped out. And this poor baby was like, I didn't do anything. So I was a mess to be with, I would say, for the first couple years, because which sounds like a long time, but I just couldn't get past it, because in my past, it was just liar after liar after liar, that I just assumed like that's just the way it is. And I thought that people who appeared happy in their relationships were either settling or hiding something. I didn't believe people were actually like over the moon happy with who they were with. So I had a lot to work through. And I remember when I was in therapy for a while, I would describe it as like, I feel like this very exhausted bird who is flying above the tree, and I'm just terrified to land.
Aww.
And so it took me a long time to land. And then when I finally did, it was so amazing.
I was gonna say, was there a turning point, like something in therapy that you worked through, or do you remember like when it shifted for you, where you felt safe?
I remember that when I had my two grandparents pass away like weeks apart in 2018, and I went into like this huge downward spiral, and it was just so deeply affecting our relationship. I was just so miserable. And I got into therapy, and then that wasn't enough. And then that's when my mom sat me down and was like, you know, there's a reason they make medication. Like, you don't, like, I know you would like to fix this on your own, but like, you know, everybody in the family takes it. It's genetic. Like, just, you know, maybe it'll help you. And that was a turning point. Like, that changed my life. And
accepting help from something.
Accepting help.
Of yourself, yeah.
And I remember us right around this time, we like sat at a restaurant like very cordially and ate mac and cheese. And I was like, so do we want to break up? Do we want to figure it out? Like, what's the plan here? And at the end of the day, we both just really love each other and wanted to figure it out. And so me getting my mental health in order was huge. And also I think just time going by, because it's like, oh, it's been 2 years and you've been extremely like loyal to me. I guess I can relax about it. Yeah, we had to really, we kind of, even though we were 21 and 25, we really did kind of grow up together over these past 5 years. So I would say like getting the help that I needed.
Yeah.
And just finally deciding like, okay, it is safe to trust this man. And if I want the kind of love that I want, I have to trust him or he's going to leave. I mean, I think that's the thing my therapist said. She was like, if you keep pushing this on him, like, he's not going to stick around for much longer.
Yeah.
And it's so, you know, I mean, I wouldn't want to if somebody constantly was like, you're lying. And I was like, I'm not lying about anything.
It's such a testament to the whole, you know, kind of cliche, but we accept the love we think we deserve. And if someone's trying to give us more love, but we don't think we deserve it, we're going to push them away. And maybe it's not trusting them or sabotaging ourselves in other ways. But I know that like, that was something that came up in Craig and I's relationship too. Like, he just didn't think he deserved a healthy relationship.
Wow.
Because he had no example of like a quote unquote normal relationship growing up. He didn't really understand. I remember telling him that like, oh yeah, my grandparents are still together and they hold hands when they walk. And he was like, what? They still hold hands? And I was like, yeah, I mean, if we're going to grow old together, we're still going to be sweet to each other and romantic. And like, that was just a completely new idea to him. So that, yeah, like, when you got your mental health in order, it was like an act of self-love, and you were able to tune into yourself more, being balanced in that way. And then there you go. You were able to accept the love that Victor was trying to give you.
I know, which is so much.
Yeah.
Which is so
he
much.
loves you so much.
No. And I love him so much. And it was, we went through it, you know, because I was going through it. And there were some like little adjustments like that we needed to make along the way, because we just did. Like we had to learn, like truly it was our first adult proper relationship.
Yeah.
So neither of us really had quality experience in that. So we had to sort of create it and figure it out as we went.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing that we've ever done was move in together. Because sometimes people move in together and they're like, oh, we are not a match.
Yeah.
And we moved in together, and it was like, I remember trying to explain to him, I was like, when I'm at home, I'm so happy. And so when you're at my home with me that we share, you're going to see this very relaxed, happy side of me.
Yeah.
Where I'm like silly and I could just be myself, and I'm not commuting from the valley all the way out to downtown LA, you know, 4 times a week, and exhausted by the time that I see you and all these things. And we've just like built this really sweet life together. But it wasn't without a lot of like healing and shadow work and a lot of growing pains.
Yeah.
And he was a real champion through it. And he was very patient. And, you know, I don't mean to only make me sound like the drag here. I mean, there were some things that we had to straighten out with him too. But
Yeah.
but all like well-meaning things. Like his stuff has always just been like, hi, I know you haven't considered this before. Can you please consider this now? Or, hey, you know, it's just been like, you know, please communicate with me kind of stuff. But we have a really good relationship now. And I will say your openness in your relationship has inspired me to create a level of openness that I feel safe about. And an example of that I'll give, and to be clear, like we're pretty closed, pretty traditional. But when we first started dating, it's like, I didn't want to hear that anybody else was attractive. I didn't want to know that you could imagine doing XYZ with somebody else. I didn't want, like, please keep your fantasies out of my face. Like, I was very intimidated and overwhelmed by them. And it's been really fun to get into a space now where it's like we can, at the very least, which is actually a lot, like talk really openly about stuff. And I always tell him, I say, you know, please don't cheat on me. If down the road there's somebody and something comes up, just let's have a conversation before you do anything. And maybe just talking about it will get it out of your system. You know, I would have never said that years ago. So your openness and honesty has definitely impacted and inspired and created more like openness in a way that works for me.
Well, that's what I mean. Like it's so different for everybody, but relationships don't have to look one way, and throughout the course of the relationship it doesn't have to look one way. It's not like this is the way it is forever and ever with us. Like, this is the first relationship I've been in where, like, when times got hard, I didn't dip out. You know, when something went wrong or I got really hurt by something, I wasn't like, guess this means it's not it, see ya, you know?
Right.
In every other relationship, I've always been sort of the runaway girl where I'm like, guess not.
I was on the other end of that. That's funny.
I've always been the runaway. I mean, like, moving to California, I was running away from somebody, basically. So
you were running to Goddess Hangs.
I was running to Goddess Hangs. I was running away from a lot. I just wanted a new life. I wanted a fresh start. And you know, it was like 1 year after my mom had passed that I moved out to California. So I kind of spent my year at home. I went on a backpacking trip to Europe, But I was just, I was like, I'm not doing well here. I need to try something else. So that's how I made my way to California. That's how I made my way to Craig. And you know what kind of makes me laugh is like, I met you and Craig within a month of each other. And now you both are my whole life.
I was going to ask, what are your favorite qualities about Craig, and what are your, like, if we were to peek into your house, you know, and be a fly on the wall, what are like your favorite little things that you do together?
So obviously, like, our sense of humor together is such a big, hi Mr. Cat, is such a big thing. Like, my number one thing in friendship and relationships with my family even is always just like the sense of humor aspect to it, like not taking life too seriously. Like, I always joke that my love language is like getting made fun of or making fun of, like, so we have a lot of like playfulness in our house. But as goofy and weird as Craig is and his public persona, he is so organized. He's such a like head of household, like takes out the garbage and keeps the garage organized and is like so helpful with laundry. And I feel like we share the like house responsibilities so well. Like, I'm so appreciative of how he cares for our household, I guess. It's a big deal. Like, it's hard to have, and I tend to get on the messier side, so he holds me accountable, and I'm like, oh, I gotta keep a certain degree of organization so I don't drive him crazy. So I really appreciate him about that. It's a big deal to me. Obviously, like, his belief in me, and also the way that he just is so quick with his like words of like being proud of me, the way he's affectionate. Like, there's never a moment for me to be like, does he love me? Because he's just always so present and there for it, you know? He's also really communicative. Like, he's very, when he's feeling bad, he'll be like we have a different sort of love language. Like, when I'm feeling bad, I kind of want like alone time. When he's feeling bad, he's like, I don't want you to say any words to me. I want you to give me a hug and a kiss. Like, he's very good at communicating like what he needs, and I'm getting better at listening. Because I'm like, what do you mean? That's not what I do when I'm sad, you know? So yeah, we have a very balanced household. If you were a fly on the wall, you'd probably see us laughing really hard. And I don't know, he just takes such good care of me. Like, you know, it feels good to feel safe, like being in my feminine and like allowing someone to take care of me in a lot of senses. Like, yeah.
I love that.
And what about you and Victor?
What was it? My favorite qualities that he has?
Yeah, and like a fly on the wall in your home.
Okay, I'll start with fly on the wall. We're very goofy and silly at home. I'm always, we talk in a very specific dialect to each other that I invented and he adopted. So we're always like, what a pepper? Are you hungry, pepper? Oh, Mr. Pepper. Like, we have this very funny way that we talk. And we always say, like, if we broke up and started dating new people and just started talking like that, and it was like,
no. They'd be like, hello, deal breaker.
What are you doing? They'd be like, get out of my apartment. We talk in our silly way. We do an activity called Research Things and Learn.
Oh.
Where we sit, we cuddle next to each other quietly, and he has his iPad and I have my phone or my laptop, and we like learn things tandemly.
Love that.
He's always cooking, and I like eating everything he makes because I don't really cook anything at all. And we go out a lot. He likes to be out. So it's usually him driving 100% of the time and me in the passenger seat being dragged wherever he wants to go
on the adventure.
Yeah,
love that.
That's like our day-to-day. And then his qualities, the list is very long. He's extremely affectionate. He's very patient, very loving, very forgiving, very funny. And you know, he can, like I said, he can make friends with anybody. He wants everybody to feel like the most special, important person in the world. He's such a family guy. And
I love that about Craig too. He really prioritizes time with his family, and it's very sweet.
And he's just been like so supportive. Like, he's seen me completely, do a big change in my life in terms of career and how I spend my time and who I am now. And I dress differently than when we met. And I
was gonna say, we both were completely different people, and we both have partners that were so there for the expansion and the growth. A lot of times I think when people go on the journey we've been on together, they go through breakups because their partner is like, whoa, this is what I signed up for or something. And I think that's something I'm grateful that we both have partners that were like, oh my God, cool, yeah, hell yeah, like, go do your thing, ladies.
He's so funny. He's like, I don't get it, but you go, girl. And we've really done a lot like together and for each other, and it's fun to think about one day getting married and one day having kids, because even, this is kind of special, this is what I'll end it on, even when we were going through some difficult times, and of course it wasn't like misery for 2 years, he would not have stayed with me and vice versa. It was just, there was an undertone of that, just me dealing with my stuff. Even when things were really hard, I felt my kids saying, no, this is our dad.
That's what I felt like,
gotta
too.
figure
and
it
I kept
out.
telling like some of my friends, I was like, I know that this sounds weird, but I have to have a kid with him. And they were like, Sadie, I know you think you're psychic, but you can't stay because you think you're like, they're like, everyone has a fantasy of having a child with someone, and then it's hard to let that go. And I was like, this is different.
No, it's different.
There's something special about the child that we're gonna have together, and I can't have a child. I was like, it has to be Greg. And then that really was strong with me, even at my most miserable.
Me too.
Even when I was like, I want to run away, I want to go, it was like my intuition was so strong, and it was like, you're gonna get through this, do not do that.
Whoa. I would have that too, and it would be like, this is the father of your babies, so you got to get it together, girl, and figure it out, because he's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you're literally creating problems where there are no problems. In my situation, so
I had real big problems.
There was a thing to deal with there, but
I would have meditations where the baby would come to me. I had so many visions of this, and I would be bawling, crying, because I was like, it's not that I don't want you, but things are really hard right now, and I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm capable of this level of forgiveness, which I am. Shout out to me.
She did a high
that
five.
Was a lot.
You did it.
I was like, if I can forgive that, I can forgive fucking anything. Not an invitation for more things to forgive. I'm just saying. Go me. But it was so like this baby kept visiting me, and I was just like, God damn it, I gotta have this kid.
I feel like we both feel like we're gonna have sons.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm gonna have a son who sings, because anytime I see a young boy under the age of 13 with like a powerful singing voice, and it's always a boy, I lose my mind.
You know the little boy that sings in The Greatest Showman, like
that's the song I'm referring to.
When, oh my God, I can't stand it. I can't wait to watch your son sing.
I just feel like he's going to be a singer.
Craig keeps talking about that he keeps seeing our daughter, and I'm like, I keep seeing our son, which we could have a daughter and a son.
I think you're going to have a wild girl.
I know. I think it's, yeah. Well, Craig was a completely insane child, so I'm going to have my hands full.
You and I were...
The crazy look in their eyes, just like, ah!
You and I were like, obedient, calm, followed mommy.
Yeah, I didn't like breaking rules. I was a very big tomboy when I was a kid. I had a phase where I wouldn't wear any girl clothes.
Me too, for a couple years.
Really?
Yeah.
I wanted to be a boy.
Grade.
I don't know, because I had 2 brothers, and my dad is the coolest, but I just thought my dad was the coolest. I wanted to be like him. I remember my parents had to sit me down and be like, Sadie, you can't walk around without your shirt on anymore outside, because I was starting to go through puberty.
Oh no.
And they were like, it's gonna be in the next year or so that you can't do that. So let's stop now. I like loved walking around with no shirt on outside.
Oh my gosh. When I was
my basketball shorts.
3 or 4, I remember my grandma being like, you need to wear a shirt, but my boy cousin wasn't. And it was so confusing to me.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think that was the first moment that I didn't feel shame about my body, but I recognized that having this body meant different things.
But then a couple years later, I was the girliest girl, so I was all over the place.
I know. I definitely had my I'll save the basketball court at recess. You know, put your foot in each thing, and it was like, sorry, claimed it.
I cried because my dad wouldn't let me join tackle football, like real football, like with the pads and
devastating.
tackling. And he was like, see, you're crying because I won't let you. This is exactly why you can't join, because you'll end up crying. And I was so pissed off.
Ooh.
It wasn't his best moment.
Yeah, that's okay. I think all dads have a few not great moments.
Yeah, but so I did not join tackle football. Pop Warner, we called it. I wanted to so bad.
Pop Warner?
Yeah. Pop Warner football.
Pop Warner.
I don't know, in Wisconsin it's just, now it's something different, but it was Pop Warner football was like the kids football league.
Oh, like Little League.
Yeah. It's called Pop Warner.
I'm like, why have I never
Anyone
heard
else
of this
from Wisconsin? Tell me if that was, I don't know if that was just my central Wisconsin area or what, but it was Pop Warner. The guy, I think it's the guy's name.
The girls on The Bachelor this week were playing tackle football. And
synchronicity.
I'm going to be honest, I was not envious. I did not want to do it. It looked very painful.
I don't want to anymore, but I wanted to at that time, and I was very mad. Also, at the same time, I was in ballet lessons and like very committed to my dance career. So I was, again, very both ways. And I was like, Dad, if I drop this one dance class, then I can go to football practice. I wanted to do it all. Like, I didn't.
Now you do.
Join.
Now you do it all. She does it all. Do it all. Oh my gosh. Well, we are, I think, over our time by a few minutes. So we have to wrap up this episode.
Make sure that you check out our Patreon, new and improved. Enter the Goddess Hangs Mansion with us. We're so excited to invite more of you into the Coven and the BFF hangout. As always, we have our Intuitive Magic Oracle deck. We're wearing our gorgeous jewelry collab with Out Charmed. Ooh. The link is always in our show notes. We've got our bracelet, our witch and our goddess necklaces, our magic charm ring. We love matching. We've also got really cute hats. A new bucket hat now too, if you want to rep your title as witch or goddess and rep the Goddess Hangs brand. And Quantum Goddess, I don't know when this releases if we'll have spots left.
As of this moment, which we're recording on Wednesday, there are 4 spots left. Go check out our Instagram and see if those spots are available.
Yes. We're so excited to work with the Quantum Goddesses that have signed up. I can't wait. I'm like, dang, we shouldn't have made it start in March. I want to start now.
I know.
We need some time to prep anyway. So we're so excited to welcome, shout out to our Quantum Goddesses who have invested in themselves and will be working with you. We can't wait. And make sure, so we're going to be doing 2 very special episodes. One episode, Sadie Olsen, will be interviewing our favorite couple, Juliet Piper and Victor Salazar. And on another episode, Juliet will be interviewing me and Craig. So make sure you're following us on Instagram because we are going to be putting up a question box for a Q&A. So if you want to ask your burning questions to Juliet and Victor and to me and Craig, make sure you're on our Instagram at Goddess Hangs. Also follow me. I am Sadie Olsen.
I'm at Juliet.Piper.
And we can't wait to hang out with you next week.
Bye.